Hello, and welcome to the Ferret Business Podcast. I am your host, Yemmy the Ferret, aka Yemmy, aka DJ Yemmy. And with me today, I have another podcaster with me who also does Let's Plays and other pre-recorded videos. It's Nerd in the Bay. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on the Yemmy cast.
Not a problem. All your links will be down in the description below, including YouTube, Twitter, and Anchor for the audio form of the podcast. How are you today, my dude?
I'm doing okay. I had a stressful, like I mentioned before, I had a little bit of a stressful day at work, but I'm glad to be able to unwind and just talk shop with you.
Yeah, I had a pretty boring day myself, to be honest with you. It was a lot of waiting around for something to happen, and then when it finally did happen, it was too late, and it was like, I guess I just gotta do it tomorrow.
I'll take boring any day beyond stressful. So yeah, there's that.
Well, my phone hates boring days because then I use it and drain the battery. So
yeah. Big struggles, right?
Yeah, big struggles in a little world, I guess you would say.
Yeah,
not really. But hey, let's start off with the origin of your channel, Nerd in the Bay. Obviously, you are Marco Flores on both Twitter and Nerd in the Bay. But Nerd in the Bay, where did that come from, and how did you get into YouTube?
Oh, yes, sir. So yeah, like you just mentioned, my name is Marco Flores. I'm from the Bay Area, and that's where my name stemmed from. I was trying to think of names for like a YouTube channel, and I have like a separate like my name channel that was dealing with like a lot of martial arts stuff, and so I made a brand new channel talking about. I have like a lot of interests, like, so that's why I list them all, almost like frequent, just so like the audience would know like what you'll be delving into when you come to my channel. So like I talk about like stuff with video games. The stuff that I do with mobile games really like was the foundation, or is the foundation of my channel, and I still plan on doing that. But yeah, it started from mobile games. I talk about like, comics, movies, anime, TV shows, talk about wrestling because I have friends that watch wrestling and I'm really into wrestling, and I do some martial arts as well. So like, yeah, a lot of hats that I wear. And yeah, like I said, I'm from the Bay Area. So just, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the Bay Area. And so, yeah, that's where my channel came from.
A lot of like a little bit of something for everyone,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, was there anyone specific that inspired you to start the channel, or was it just your own inspiration?
So, like, yeah, I when I think about this, when I get this question asked, like, I think about like what made me start the channel. Of course, I was watching a bunch of YouTubers and people who do podcasts. So people that come to mind are Wes Gardner. His name is Kami the Hobo. He has a channel himself under Kami the Hobo. He does like Let's Plays and streams on video games, and have like written articles regarding video games. And their former site, Nitro Beard, where Game Informer's I think head editor or head writer, or I want to say editor in chief, Imran Khan, that's where he got his start from. So like kind of like deep lineage in a sense when it comes to like the early ages, like the 08s, 09s of like early podcasting, game reviews, that sort of thing. So that's where a part of my inspiration came from, just chopping it up with them, interacting with their content on a daily basis. And then another guy that I watch, Maximilian, he's like a fighting game YouTuber. So I'm very much into fighting games myself. And I wanted to do a lot of the stuff that he was doing. So like he does reaction videos. I started doing reaction videos and putting my own spin on things. Just that whatever I take, I'm trying to make it as different from Maximilian's as much as possible, and not be one-to-one the same thing as him. So yeah, so I have some influences in that area between those two, Kami the Hobo and Maximilian.
What came first, your love for fighting games or your love for martial arts?
Ooh, man. Oh, that's a pretty good question, because I believe I started martial arts because I was really into fighting games. So fighting games I would say win that out. Maybe like the late 80s, like, because Street Fighter 2 was like the big hit and everybody was playing. And then like I like full disclosure, like, as I'm playing the arcade games, like I was practicing the moves in my room.
Oh, okay.
What does jab look like? What does Ryu's fierce punch looks like. Oh, what does this roundhouse kick looks like? So I try to emulate those moves, and then made me want to tell my dad, like, Dad, I want to start martial arts, and that's how that happened.
So in your opinion, what's the best fighting game? Is it Mortal Kombat? Is it Street Fighter? Is it something else?
Oh man, tough question, tough question. So
We only do the hard hitting questions
yeah,
here.
yeah, no, you Yemmy, yeah, as the Yemmy cast, I would only expect nothing less. So like, oh, man, because I'm really delving into Mortal Kombat right now because of the hype train that is Mortal Kombat 11 coming in about a month, I believe.
Hmm.
So I would say, if you ask me in my heart of hearts, I would say Street Fighter wins it out as my favorite fighting game series or franchise of all time.
Is there like a specific? You said that's your favorite franchise, but is there a
Franchise,
specific
correct?
game that you
Oh
like
man,
over Street Fighter, or is like Street Fighter 4? I know a lot of people say Street Fighter like 3 is their favorite.
yeah. So a lot of people will say Third Strike out of the threes, because Street Fighter does like the Championship Edition, Turbo
Yeah.
Edition sort of thing. So you guys, I know people like in the 80s and 90s are familiar with that. With me, I mean, it stems from like Super Street Fighter to Turbo with like the new challengers, and then adding Akuma and Turbo speeds into that correlation, and then it's either that or Third Strike, which everybody does say probably the best out of the Street Fighter like threes
Hmm.
uh, out there. Yeah, probably Third Strike if when it comes down to it.
Do you get annoyed by the amount of Street Fighter remakes, and not like, well, I guess not remakes. I'm trying to say like re-releases, because I know Street Fighter 4 had like, it seems like there's an infinite amount of Street Fighter 4s out there. There was one released on the PS4 not too long ago, and then Street
Right.
Fighter 5. Like when I first bought that game, and there was like 6 characters or something,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm kind of disappointed with this. And of course, then years later, they have like Street Fighter 5 Ultimate Edition Super Mega Turbo
Yeah.
Mode.
So like as you were saying, as Street Fighter Five was its standalone, like almost, it's the one and done.
Hmm.
So again, like I said, I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. I was used to the idea like, okay, well, Street Fighter Two Championship Edition, it was like the update installment that you could play the boss characters, and then Super Street Fighter Two introduces like four new characters beyond the 12 that were available. So they had their updates through the games, and I was used to that. So like that was Third Strike, Street Fighter Three New Generation, Second Impact. I was used to that formula. So when Street Fighter Five came around, and they said that only one game, and then you just buy characters, unlock them. I was down with that, because like, yeah, because people in the past said like they were tired of buying a new iteration of the same game, and then once this new business plan came around, then all of a sudden the tables flipped. Like, no, all of a sudden they want their championship edition, they want their super turbo, they want to go back to that old ways, because it was more of a complete game. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, like it's like weighing the pros and cons. Like, what do you guys want? So like I was down. I was okay with the standalone, and then just unlocking everything once it's available. But I guess the general public was not.
Yeah, usually people, when they pay $60 for a game, they expect it to be a full game.
Yeah,
Although,
that's true.
like real talk, like when you buy a game nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's No Man's Sky, it doesn't matter if it's the latest and greatest game.
Hmm.
The one thing that annoys me is things locked behind a paywall, or things
Oh yeah.
locked behind an update, and it's like, I love what the Division 2 is. Okay, I'm not gonna say that I hate it, but the one thing I do hate about it is that when I put that game disc in on Thursday night, there was a 40 gig update for it, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember back in the day with Resistance 3, you put the game disc in 2 years after that game came, or a year after that game came out, there was like 15 updates you had to install. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I am
Exactly.
not using my PlayStation today.
Yeah, and going back to Capcom was notorious for doing that when it came to like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and there was like characters behind a paywall, but they were on the disc, and it's like,
Hmm.
come on, guys, like we looked up to you as like they were nicknamed Cap God, because they're all the amount of like the volume of games that they were doing, and the quality that was coming out in the early, I mean the later, oh not like 2000s,
Hmm.
and then now they're slowly inching their way back up there with like Resident Evil 2 remake and Devil May Cry 5, like just nonsense, like awesome quality content. But like they're getting better with their practices. And I for one am not so much of like a white knight in this sense, but like I understand. Oh, you guys made mistakes, and you guys need to fix those things. Rather than like they see them, a general person would see those mistakes and dismiss them outright.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm more understanding in that sense, I guess.
Well, do you think that most developers use updates and stuff like that as a crutch? Like, of course, everyone knows Fallout 76 has kind of been a little bit of a train wreck so
Oh
far,
man, yeah.
and Bethesda has obviously been using the update function to, aggressively update the game. Do you think that developers use it more as a crutch now than anything else?
I tend to believe so, but then again, uh, they're also like second chances with games with like Final Fantasy 14. When that first came out, that was a train wreck. And now with No Man's Sky, at its current point, it's actually becoming a quality game, but it took this long to get to where they should have been.
Right,
So
everything
like,
they were saying before the game released, they finally
yeah,
got
yeah.
around to it.
Yeah, so it's like I would say it's also up to people. At the same time, it's up to the development team and publishers to just be honest of what's going on. Like I mean, people to be just, if this is your game, like if No Man's Sky is your game, and a lot of detractors are like going against it, well, just stick to it, because look where it started from its release to where it is now. It's okay, like and it's pretty impressive. Same thing with Final Fantasy 14, where it is now, where a different producer director just made like made like something that was like crap on a plate to like a T-bone steak.
Right.
It's something like that. Like, so yeah, and full again, full disclosure, like you were mentioning Resistance 3 on
Hmm.
PlayStation. I
Yeah.
I game tested on Resistance 1.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so like I have a little bit of game testing it behind my plate, and I understand, like the QA side of that. Like, yeah, I know these guys were reporting bugs,
Hmm.
but it was like it's up to like the deadline to whether these guys want to fix these bugs or just let them through and then fix them on patch.
I think the one thing that people could do to kind of understand why updates are so important, especially on day one, is to buy the physical copy of the game. And
Hmm.
then, like, there's this game called Ghost Warrior 3 that came out a few years ago. I don't know if you played it or know the franchise, but it's a first-person shooter, of course. It's
Okay,
sniping and all that.
I,
And
I think I'm familiar with the name. Yeah.
what you can do is actually, if you have the physical copy, like I did, you could put the disc in, and uninstall your update, and it was a completely different game. It was like
Oh,
there
okay.
was no help with aiming. There was different things, different markers on the map. It was completely different. And I went and I installed the update after like messing around with it, and I was like,
Hmm.
holy crap, this is like a 10
Yeah,
time better game now.
yeah, yeah.
It's just crazy
Yeah.
how that
Oh man,
happens.
yeah.
It's really crazy.
It is great. It is crazy, and that's pretty unique to. I mean, if you were to try to find a certain update that's not like very, the game company or the developers themselves, like, hey, this is where you find updates so and so, and it sounds like it's pretty interesting that the fact that you can find certain updates, uh rather than just being updated to the latest like update, basically.
Mhm. So, I know you mentioned Mortal Kombat 11
Hmm.
before. You're actually going through the, I guess it would be called the remake, but everyone calls it Mortal Kombat 9 on the channel right now.
Correct.
I mean, I've played most of the Mortal Kombat games. I started with 9, of course, because that was the PS3 era one, and I didn't
Hmm.
really own a PS2 or anything like that at the time. And one of the first games that I bought on the PlayStation was Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Oh man.
So I was introduced into
Oh,
the series in the bad way.
oh man. And it's hokiness too, because they were, I know if you look back or you play back on MK versus DC, you'll see some influences of what you see today, like
Hmm.
maybe the X-rays or just like the interactions, or like I don't think there's a rage system yet in MK versus DC that's stemmed from where MK11 is heading, but like I do see uh where the trajectory of some of the things that they did in back then in that game, and I didn't get to play that game in particular. just because, yeah, like I guess the superheroes can do like fatalities, like a full blown dark fatality if it was Superman,
Right.
unless you were like a villain, or in like the Mortal Kombat guys had like just watered down, like oh I just like broke your arm and like and I punch a tooth out sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've seen those fatalities, but I cannot like put my like seal of approval to say that like that's a quote unquote fatality, but they did what they could, I guess.
Oh, the one thing that bothered me was the 3D environment. It was a three-dimensional game instead of a 2D fighter, like almost pretty much every other Mortal Kombat game.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was so perplexed by it because I had only played like Street Fighter 2 on my PC when I was a kid, and I
Mhm.
was like, this is I don't like unless it's like Dragon Ball Z, I don't want a 3D open world, not really open world, but open area kind of the battling. So that's
Yeah.
why when I finally did get Mortal Kombat 9, I got the complete edition after all was said and done, and I was like, this is a 10 times better game,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm having fun with it.
That's good. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, like when it went to that 3D that 3D arc, I would say, like if there was like anime arc, Mortal Kombat, they went through a 3D arc with like Deadly Alliance, Deception, and then Armageddon. I mean, that was when fighting games were in a lull, and the people that were just playing Third Strike were just playing Third Strike, and then with Mortal Kombat wise, that was basically the only franchise pretty much that were kind of doing new games at that time. And I played those, and I enjoyed it for what they were. But like in terms of like a competitive fighting tournament, watching it on Evo or watching it on Twitch, like that's not something I would like to watch unless it was in the creation of like Soul Calibur, and where they have 3D fighting down
hmm
packed.
Yeah, I don't want to move away from Mortal Kombat, but real quick, I think the newest Soul Calibur game that came out last year, vastly underrated,
Oh
in my
yeah,
opinion. I don't even in the magazines that I read and the websites I go to, hardly anyone mentioned it. And I was like, what?
yeah, yeah. Like I think people at least where I read my fighting game news and competition stuff. Yeah, like it's Soul Calibur, the newest one, as quality as it is, it's not being played up to up to like maybe audience should get to know this game, and like it's tough. That sucks because there's a lot of fighting games. There's a boom of fighting games going on right now, and
hmm
unfortunately, Soul Calibur is just there rather than like, oh, it should be pushed. Yeah, it's unfortunate because Soul Calibur, is a quality game franchise as well.
Yeah, the last one I played was 3, and I
Mhm.
was kind of nervous going straight to 6 because I'd only seen gameplay of 4 and 5 and that.
Right.
And I was relatively impressed with it. A lot of the characters were the same. I was like, holy, I remember these characters from the
Yeah.
GameCube version. Of course, Link isn't in it, but, The Witcher
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
cool substitute.
Yeah. I agree. Like Soul Calibur 2 was by far my favorite Soul Calibur because of like, I mean, a part of it is kind of like the character exclusives, but like the other part of it is like it was a awesome ass game, and the fact that you can customize like your weapons. They have different effects when you're doing the single player, like not even story mode, but like the adventure mode that they
Mhm.
had. Yeah, like Soul Calibur 2 was great, and then with the latest one, again, it looks great. It looks great. I just too bad that not many of the hardcore Soul Calibur, that's their game is. I mean, maybe they're pushing it on their streams, but it's not getting the attention I feel like it deserves. For me.
Do you think it would have gotten more attention if it had the console exclusives again, kind of like the old days?
I mean, that's possible. But really, when it comes down to it, is I mean, you have your general your casual audience that's gonna buy the game and play it. Oh yeah, cool, new Soul Calibur, and then wait, drop it off and like let it collect dust. Where the competition scene will let it thrive, as they keep doing more tournaments. And I don't know, maybe I'm not looking at tier lists right now. Maybe there's like tier lists where some characters are banned. I'm not too sure. I don't want
Hmm.
to like just say like that's for sure. Maybe that's the case, or I don't know. Like there's not really a big push from Bandai Namco. At least I feel like where I see my Twitter feed and news,
I agree
they're
with
not
that.
really pushing it as much as like their Tekkens, their Dragon Ball Fighters, in that sense. I mean, yeah, it should get more of a push, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely deserves it. But
Yeah.
anyways, going back to Mortal Kombat, of course, uh, Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out. Obviously, the hype is real for that game. To
Oh
be
yeah.
honest with you, they brought back my favorite character, Baraka. After they killed him
Oh
off
no,
in
yeah.
X,
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah. I was shocked when they killed off Baraka.
well, and then they had him be like a computer controlled character, but you couldn't actually play as him. I was
Yeah.
very heartbroken,
Yeah.
and luckily they brought back a lot of characters that I found really accessible in Mortal Kombat 9. Like
Right.
there's the guy with the hook blades. What's his name? Cabal or
Cabal.
something? Yeah,
Yeah.
Cabal.
Cabal.
Like I used to use him religiously in that game, and
Oh yeah.
then obviously with the storyline going on, he was killed, and X he kind of came back as like a demon thing
Yeah.
with everyone else who was killed, and I was like,
Yeah,
just
everybody died through Sindel. Like, I mean,
I
spoiler
know.
alert if you never watched like the storyline of Nine, but like, yeah, Sindel killed everybody, and then they all become like undead. And then, but yet, if you kick Quan Chi in the balls enough, you'll be undead, you'll be re-alive or something like that.
Yeah.
You just have to be nearby for the the AOE effect.
I am really interested to see where they're going to go with the story in this one. Obviously, it's continuing off of Mortal Kombat 11, where Raiden has the amulet, and I just thought that first trailer they put out for the story like set the scene so well for
Oh
what they
yeah,
wanted to do. I
yeah.
was like, okay, this is going to be. I hate to use the word, but it's going to be epic.
Yeah, yeah. For NetherRealm Studios is the standard bearer when it comes to fighting game storyline, like single player storyline.
Hmm.
Because when they were not doing when they weren't doing Mortal Kombat 9, storyline wasn't so much of an importance. And then Mortal Kombat 9 came out, like, oh wow, yeah, you go through the mythology of the characters, and you see like a reboot, a retelling of like the first like was it the first three Mortal Kombat's in that story in the story mode, and then just continuing on to this like this juncture timeline where Raiden is becoming more like corrupt and like with Mortal Kombat 11 where we're having time travel in our high fantasy martial arts like literally a movie at this point,
Hmm.
and you're going up against undead Liu Kang while like young Street Fighter Alpha like Liu Kang and Kung Lao are like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It's kind of reminding me of I don't know if you read comics, but like all new X-Men when the old '05 X-Men came back to I guess that present timeline, and then like you see like the current '05 X-Men is like, oh, Cyclops is watching present Cyclops seeing that he's more of a dick and he kind of killed Professor X, and young Jean Grey's finding out that like, oh yeah, Jean Grey was been dead because she was the Phoenix and she never got brought back, and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's crazy, and I'm really looking forward to. I mean, the fact that we get two Johnny Cages, like that's in itself enough for me. So
Right. I like how in the we'll talk about the state of play
yeah.
in a second, but I love how the first scene in that is just Johnny Cage punching the guy in the
Johnny
nuts.
Cage sliding in a split punch and punching. I don't know. I don't know if people are aware. Like, that's Mortal Kombat 3 Kano, because the whole thing about the time travel,
Hmm.
they're getting a bunch of the characters from different timelines of Mortal Kombat history. So like, yeah, he was split punching and sliding. I might add, to Kano's like nuts, and that was hilarious. And then like, yeah, like I said, two Johnny Cages bantering back and forth. Like, you can't go wrong with that.
Wasn't one of them holding like a Johnny Cage action figure too?
Yeah, he was, and still being just a dick, Johnny Cage.
Yeah. One last question for Mortal Kombat. Which character would you like to see die in Mortal Kombat
Oh
11?
man, yeah, because people have to die.
Yeah.
Oh man,
If you say Baraka, this podcast's over.
I mean, I'm not gonna say Baraka, but like Baraka has been getting the jobber treatment in Mortal Kombat X, and like whatever in Mortal Kombat 9, as I'm going through, like, man, Baraka's just getting taking
Yeah.
losses here and there. Like,
It's like
come on.
every other story mission is Baraka and someone else.
Yeah, exactly. And then now Baraka's getting his spotlight, especially. I'm digging that Shao Kahn, like just the helmet he has as like an equipable for one of his costumes, or just
Hmm.
like equipment that he can use. Like, that's pretty awesome too. Let me see who has to die. You know what? If it'll really affect like people be raging if actually Johnny Cage would lose his life here at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Because he did die in 3,
He did.
storyline wise, and then he had to come back like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, no, that was a stunt double that died, and then yeah, just to bring him back. But that would probably be an effective death is Johnny Cage, and then yeah, I would say Johnny Cage, both of them, both Johnny Cages.
And then also from Mortal Kombat 9, there was a huge group of people who just died in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Which one of those people are you most wanting to see back again that haven't already been announced?
You know what? That's a good question. Let me see. You know what? As much like I would say Stryker in a sense because he was cool to play in 9, but I know people treat him as the joke character, like the Johnny Cage wannabe. But like he was badass in 9. Like some of the moves and like the combo setups that he can do. Like I would say, like to have Stryker come back out. You know what? Nightwolf, as kind of boring appearance wise he looks, he was doing some pretty good damage when he had his turn in terms of the storyline. So I would say either one of those two, like Nightwolf or Stryker.
Yeah, I agree with Nightwolf. I really enjoyed Nightwolf. Of course, I did use Stryker a lot when I was playing the game. Obviously not as much as other characters, but I thought that he was kind of like thrown in characters. Like, oh, we don't have enough American characters. Let's just throw Stryker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. But yeah, Nightwolf did great in storyline wise, and hopefully, I mean, it's depending how they go about it with this, like whether this whole Chronica, like, you know, reset the timeline thing with Raiden, or make it like something totally different, where like it's punish Raiden and this whole the Earth realm is like, you know, quote unquote the Punisher, and it's gonna take out enemies before they even start to become enemies, sort of thing. Like we'll see, but I'm really interested in what's gonna be delving into the storyline once we get into Mortal Kombat 11.
Now, we've had a few crazy DLC characters for the Mortal Kombat series, with a whole slew of like horror icons for Mortal Kombat X, which I was like, that was fantastic. What's a character you want to see come to Mortal Kombat X as DLC, not like a main storyline game?
Right. So like, as of right now, I think we have Shang Tsung as a DLC character that was announced C2E2. I've been tweeting this as a joke to Ed Boon and the NetherRealm Studios, but I've been tweeting out pictures of Art Lean, the one of the two black guys in the Mortal Kombat movie where Johnny Cage befriended, but then he got killed by Goro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really a nothing character, but like I know I'm trolling him, like, you know, I just tweet like win, and then his picture of the you know, his shot of the movie, and then like another character was like he used to be in the WMAC Masters, like this WWE like martial arts TV show. His name was Hakeem the Machine Alston. He was the dreadlock guy that fought Liu Kang in the first round of the Mortal Kombat movie, with, you know, in the sand and with the bow sticks and stuff. I'm trolling that, like with those two characters, like when are they coming back? But like, if you're asking me like horror movie, we had Leatherface, we had the Predator, we had Freddy Krueger in 9, we had Kratos, Alien. That's, I mean, who's
Predator.
left?
Yeah. Who is left?
Who is left? Like, I mean, Chucky. I'm not saying that's my response. Like that's my answer. Chucky.
Pennywise.
Pennywise can be one. Slender Man can be one.
Oh man.
Who else? Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. I would say Slender. Whatever I said, Pennywise, Slender Man, or you know, Five Nights at Freddy's, the Bears. I don't know.
Just have all 5 of them.
Yeah,
interchangeable.
All the Bears. Yeah, as built like stacked on top of each other as one person.
They could do like a Ninja Turtles thing, like they did with Injustice 2, I suppose.
Yeah, or Spiders Man in like the Spider-Geddon, where it's where it's a bunch of spiders and they're acting like, oh yeah, they're actually Peter Parker. No, it's like a bunch of spiders, like,
right,
on top of each other as a person.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the state of play and the future of Sony, because
Sure.
I'm a pretty big fan of Sony. I've been with them for a while now. Even though I feel like the Xbox 360 won in that generation, I think that this
Mm-hmm.
generation, I believe that the PlayStation 4 won in my eyes, just on exclusives alone. And the state of play had a good amount of things coming to it, including Iron Man VR,
Yeah,
Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing, new stuff
yeah.
on that, and exclusives for the PlayStation, which is
That's
bellissimo.
yeah.
And then don't forget about the new Days Gone stuff. And then
hmm
finally, we had another pretty big thing going on. I can't remember right now. Help me out here.
Man, geez. Yeah. So like I personally caught the end of like the state of play.
Okay,
And like of course, my highlight was the new trailer for Mortal Kombat 11.
that's what I was remembering.
I did hear about like the VR Iron Man, and then like I saw a little bit of the Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, um, yeah. I mean, like literally, the Mortal Kombat trailer was the highlight. And I, me being a Suikoden fan, which is our RPG game that I'm covering on my channel from Konami, is something that I've been wanting, like not maybe a reboot or just a new iteration of the Suikoden franchise, the game.
Hmm.
I've been wanting that since I say that every year on E3, even though Konami is not being what Konami used to be back in the day, but I'm still looking for a franchise like of Suikoden every single year, just because there's a rabid like cult following fan base that wants a new one, but yet it's
Hmm.
the business decisions of Konami and the fact that the team is split up at the same time that we can't get a new one.
Do you like the presentation of the state of play? It's a little bit different than Nintendo Directs or something like that. I feel like this is going to be the new direction for PlayStation.
Oh
Myself
yeah,
personally.
yeah. So like as you were saying, like you were for PlayStation. Like I literally worked at PlayStation at some point in time, and of course, yes, I'm a fan of PlayStation. Like in my eyes, this is where I white knight in this term in this sense. Like, yeah, I'm a like such a PlayStation fanboy. But the question you were asking, I thought it was a good attempt of what they tried to do with the Nintendo Direct. I mean, it can only get better from here moving forward. As long as I feel like as long as they keep making like a consistent appearance of state of plays rather than like like once like every year or something like that,
Right.
or maybe it's like maybe like once every like either a few months or whatever you have, whenever they have news that they want to share. Because you know, I don't know if people know that out there right now, but PlayStation pulled out of E3, so we're not going to
Hmm.
see a PlayStation conference. So this is what they're going to be doing, and I guess this is what they're preparing for once E3 time rolls around. Of course, like what Nintendo does is do their directs like that, like around the time of E3, and Sony's probably going to do the same thing, and then we'll see what we'll see in E3 this year.
Right. Yeah, a lot of companies actually pulled out of this year's E3, including
Yeah.
EA. Nintendo, of course, has taken a back seat, and then also, of course, PlayStation has said that it wasn't doing it this year. And I think, me personally, I think that these direct type things, these direct type shows, are going to be the way of the future for this stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I would love to have an announcer on the stage, and the cringy events at E3 are always a fun little
Yeah.
highlight reel to watch.
Yeah.
I do feel like maybe E3 is gonna step out the door, and other conventions like PAX or the Sony one is gonna
Yeah.
just
Take over.
they're gonna probably rise to the top, and there'll probably be a Nintendo one eventually, an Xbox one,
Yeah.
that'll all kind of tour the world, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you think that the these like the state of play and the Nintendo Directs, do you think they're a good way to give people information, or would you rather there be like a big old conference?
Like as you said, like I will miss the conference feel and the cringiness of these spokespeople that are trying to like hype up the crowd, and you can see like, oh man, that applause was artificial. Oh, like, oh, that actually is legit hype, applause sort of things. Like it's fun with a Twitch audience to point that stuff out, and then there's just comment on like wacky stuff as long as you're not being like a dick or a racist sort of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
but like that's the fun part of the conference side of it. But as you said, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be the wave of the future moving forward. Like as you said, E3 is probably going to maybe they'll close their doors either. I would say maybe next year or the year after, once people start continue to keep pulling out,
Mm-hmm.
and then they got to figure out what to do with that area of when they try to use E3, and then maybe E3 is gonna do the same thing. Maybe that's maybe a possibility that they go the direct route, and then there's not much of a showroom to go to, and you're just looking at a direct style conference, and people just get lined up for schedule wise, like, oh, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock it's small time developer and
Mm-hmm.
such, and so on. So maybe E3 will go on that route as well. But like, yeah, Nintendo paved the way, and then Sony is following suit, and I mean, eventually Microsoft is probably gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, Nintendo has a way of like being the headliner for a lot,
Yeah,
or yeah, they kind of start things off,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, handheld that turns into a on the TV,
Mhm.
gamepad, whatever. Sony seems to like to follow in their footsteps a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you got the Wii nunchuck and the Wii remote, and guess what? Sony has
Yeah.
a two motion controllers now, and
Uh-huh.
you had the Nintendo DS with touch functionality, and oh look, we got a PS Vita,
Yeah. Oh, Vita means
the
life.
the worst one so far has been, the Nintendo classics have been selling off the wall. They're great. And
Mhm.
then Sony's like, "Hey, we got a classic." And it's
Yeah,
like,
the PS Classic.
yeah.
It's a PAL version though, but it's a
Ah,
I,
it's so
I
bad.
already have friends that are like not bricked it, but like they opened it up and like they just do whatever to it. It's like, I mean, if not to say that that's advertised that you can do that, but people are already doing it. So
And with the price cuts now, like, it was $100. It
Mhm.
got reduced to like 60. That's when I bought one for Christmas. I bought one for my fiance, and then we played about 5 or 6 games, and it just wasn't impressive, And now it's
Yeah,
down to like $40, so it's like even better deal now. I think probably the real deal will be when it's down to like 20, 25. To be
yeah,
honest with you,
yeah, yeah. I think
like,
that's maybe they'll have like a PSP resurgence,
hmm
but what you can do with it rather than like what's available with the classic PS1. Maybe I'll do that. I mean, we'll see, really, but yeah,
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 we'll,
we'll
we'll
see.
we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
Hey, last question for today. Thank you for coming on once again. I've been talking to Marco Flores of Nerd in the Bay. If you want to, you can check out his links down below in the description, and also on the end cards. There'll be his YouTube channel and his latest video. Real quickly, I just wanted to ask, since you've been gaming for a while now, what has been the biggest change in gaming that you've seen yourself personally and played yourself personally?
Oh man, biggest change in gaming.
I mean, was it 2D to 3D? Was it the
Oh yeah, yeah.
online gameplay, getting to play with people across the world? Was it just the a joystick in front of you on a controller?
Oh geez, yeah. That's a long, broad question. Like, yeah, when you think about online play, it makes me think of that. Like, I don't have to. You can't replicate what you can in the arcade. I'm thinking fighting games in this sense. You
hmm
can't replicate that. You could put a quarter up on the machine saying that you're next, and then you get ready to take their money. That's what it really say that you're the best in the arcade. That's what we do in the arcade, in that arcade sense. And they try to do that as best as possible with online play, and it's not the same. But the fact that we can play the comfort of our own home, and you wear pants if you want to and just play online games or not, it's up to you. Just don't turn on the webcam and don't
Yeah.
show anything really, but you can do that. That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty amazing, being able to play online and co-op with your friends or with strangers, and troll them, and get into like fights in that sense, trying to be like a big man on the campus sort of thing. Let me see. Like, yeah, 2D to 3. I mean, PS2 to PS3, or actually just the transition from the next generation system is
hmm
always like, I always had that comment. It's like, it's never gonna top this. PS1 graphics, it's the best. It's Gran Turismo. Watching it on like your replay race, it's like, oh man, this is the best. It's never gonna top it. And then PS2 with Gran Turismo, the next iterations, like, oh, this can't top it. This can't top it. This is the best now. And then it keeps on going like that. And I'm still playing my PS3 games as I'm trying to put out content
hmm
before I transition over to the PS4. and then do the same like that. So yeah, it's always the transition where I'm like, oh man, this you can't top this, and now we have Stadia, whatever that we gotta like delve into, and yeah, it sounds like we need to be rich first of all. We have like that premium internet and
right.
the most optimal like conditions. Like no, it's not. That's not going to be the same for everybody. So I mean, we'll see with this whole Stadia no console. Just play from your phone and stream, and camera's always on, and the mic is always on, sort of thing. So, yeah, it's unique, and it's like it's a little touchy at the same time.
Right. Yeah. It's like having an Alexa as a game console. It's always on. It's always listening, and it will take your information.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
Well, hey, I have a running gag on the channel right now with it's called Mr. Predicto. And what you gotta do is just ask him a yes or no question, and he'll give you his honest opinion, or actually his honest prediction about the question. So if you have a question you want to ask him, ask away.
Mr. Predicto. That's pretty much on the spot. But will Baraka die in Mortal Kombat 11?
Oh man, Mr. Predicto, will Baraka die?
Definitely not.
Oh, I had a mini heart attack there. Yeah, no, sometimes he'll say definitely yes. Oh.
I'm sorry I even have to brought that up. Like I was like, oh man, I gotta think of a question right now. I gotta think of a question. Yeah.
No, we got a good answer.
Your favorite characters can stay alive in Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh my gosh. Oh. All right. Well, hey, I just want to thank Marco Flores from Nerd in the Bay for coming on one more time onto the podcast. Links to both his Twitter accounts will be down below and his YouTube channels. And remember to check out his podcast on Anchor. His podcast is called Open Bar for content creators.
You got
it. I stumbled through it, but we got there in the end. Hey, is there anything else you want to say before we end the podcast?
That's pretty much it, really. Thank you for having me, Yemmy. Like, I'm starting to listen to your podcast. Like, yeah, just getting to know creators out there and just hear their stories and definitely I appreciate that you make each of those episodes like not formulaic, but like it's just different every single episode, and I appreciate that. So just keep on making them, man. I'll keep on listening and watching at the same time.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for me. Remember, guys, Ferret Business Podcast uploads on Fridays, and then also YemmyCast uploads and premieres on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so make sure you check those out as well. I am your host, Yemmy the Ferret, and this has been another episode of the Ferret Business Podcast.